A recent Florida Supreme Court decision has paved the way for a vote this November on a constitutional amendment that would legalize medical marijuana in the state of Florida. Meanwhile, in the Florida House and Senate, multiple medical marijuana bills have been introduced this year. As the vote draws nearer, myself and a group of other Florida State students set out to learn more about this growing movement in the state of Florida. In 1970, Richard Nixon began the war on drugs and made marijuana a Schedule I drug with the Controlled Substances Act.
America's public enemy number one in the United States is drug abuse.
In order to be categorized as a Schedule I drug, the substance must have a high potential for abuse, no medical use, and not safe to use without medical supervision. Schedule I drugs include heroin, LSD, and ecstasy. But recently, the attitude of the American public about marijuana has been changing.
You've changed your mind.
I have, and as part of my thinking recently, I've apologized for some of the earlier reporting because I think we've been terribly and systematically misled in this country for some time, and I did part of that misleading.
Public support of medical marijuana has been growing in the state of Florida. We took to the streets and found that most of the people we talked to were supportive of medical marijuana.
I see it changing. I see the atmosphere changing and people being more open like I am.
For that type of purpose, yes.
Just for medical purposes?
Medical purposes, yes.
Not for recreation?
Not for recreation, no.
Yes, medical marijuana should be legalized in Florida, given that it does have great benefits, though it should have more research done on the effects.
As long as it's regulated and it is for medical use.
If we're gonna have that illegal, there's also other substances that do similar things to your brain chemistry that should also be dubbed illegal then.
Anything that we can do to help anybody with a medical condition is needed.
We went to the Capitol building in Tallahassee to talk to State Representative Joe Saunders. He introduced a bill this year that would set up a framework for legal medical marijuana in the state of Florida.
What it does is opens up a conversation about the constitutional amendment. So we took the constitutional amendment and the things that it would do. The amendment requires the Department of Health, for example, the amendment we'll be voting on in November, requires the Department of Health to create a framework by which licensed physicians could prescribe medical marijuana to people who they thought really needed its medical benefits in Florida. This bill builds on that.
The bill has been named after medical marijuana patient Kathy Jordan.
A newly filed Senate bill bearing his wife's name would allow severely sick Floridians to buy cannabis with a doctor's recommendation.
I met Kathy for the first time this year, but I've heard of her and heard about her advocacy for a long time. About 20 years ago, Kathy was diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease. And this is a really, really hard disease. It's almost entirely physical. And when she was first diagnosed, the story she tells is that she was told by her doctors that she would have maybe 5 years to live. Maybe 2 years into her disease, somebody in her life introduced her to the medical properties and benefits of marijuana. And the way she tells the story is that it has extended her life. 20 years later, she's alive and she's advocating and she's a force of nature.
It's real medicine.
And it's for his wife, Kathy, he says, suffering from ALS for 27 years.
Somehow, this cannabis is keeping her alive. We want it passed as soon as possible so she can get her medicine without the threat of going to jail.
One of the biggest concerns about this bill is that it will make marijuana more available for recreational use.
If people want access to recreational marijuana, they have it. Ask any college kid at FSU or even UCF. If people want access to marijuana right now, whether it's legal or not, I think they're getting it. Now, that's not to say that we shouldn't be mindful and thoughtful about public safety and about holding people accountable when they break our laws. But the truth is that laws in Florida today, as they're written, treat people who are really sick as criminals.
We traveled to Ocala, Florida, to talk to some more patients who believe that, like Kathy Jordan, they too would benefit from medical marijuana.
I was an industrial salesman for 35 years and in a lot of process industries. Somewhere along the line I probably picked up some benzene or something that caused me to end up having a non-curable cancer called multiple myeloma. It's a blood cancer, like leukemia.
My doctor told me the only thing that was going to help was marijuana. And if I told anyone that he said that, he would stop seeing me and he would deny it.
Of course, like many others, when they were a teenager, they smoked pot. I did too. I knew what it did for me back then because, like I said, I've been suffering with this disease for so many years.
You know, if you look at all the papers that are written in the United States about marijuana, the vast majority of them are about the harm. That we fund studies on harm, we don't fund studies on benefit nearly as much. So it gives a distorted picture. But you know, I didn't look far enough, I didn't look deep enough, I didn't look at labs in other countries that are doing some incredible research. I didn't listen to the chorus of patients who said, not only does marijuana work for me, it's the only thing that works for me.
And most of the medicines, I would say there were at least 48 to 60, if not more. There was literally a suitcase that I carried with me. And when I tried the medical marijuana, or just then it was just called marijuana, I didn't need any of it. None of it.
Despite the growing support for marijuana in this country, not everyone is on board.
Drugs are bad. You shouldn't do drugs. If you do them, you're bad. Because drugs are bad, okay?
I mean, people on pot that shoot each other, that stab each other,
lives,
strangle each other,
brains,
drive
families.
under the influence, kill families, wipe out a whole family.
Correct.
Plenty of people die from marijuana.
How much did you guys have?
I don't know. We made brownies, and I think we're dead. Time is going by really, 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 really slow.
But when you compare the side effects of marijuana to the side effects of legal prescription drugs, the demonization of marijuana just doesn't make sense.
But yeah, I don't know how marijuana, the one drug that never killed anybody, got to be the demon seed. It's just amazing. It's such a triumph of negative marketing.
We travelled to the Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville, Florida to talk to Dr. Scott Palmer, who is an expert in pain medicine. We wanted to talk to him in order to get a better idea about what kind of side effects can be caused by legal prescription drugs.
Well, the most obvious side effect would be overdose with respiratory arrest and possibly death, or coma or anoxic brain injury. Other effects would be leading on to a more established addiction to those medications.
So they tried me on a fentanyl patch. That almost killed me.
Another dangerous medication would be fentanyl, which is 100 times stronger than morphine, and it's typically used in cancer patients who are in severe pain and have been on opiates for a long period of time.
Marijuana is not a gateway drug. Marijuana basically is an exit to our narcotics. The people, all of us who want off narcotics and want that option to have access to marijuana, because we all know it helps us better than the narcotics do.
There's a death, an accidental overdose death from prescription medications every 19 minutes in this country. Those are dangerous medications. You know, they have a role, but they can be dangerous. Whereas with marijuana, I couldn't find a single confirmed overdose death.
I think the public in Florida is ready for this, and they understand that if we can find a way to prescribe OxyContin and Vicodin and these drugs that if taken in the wrong doses and wrong amounts can literally kill you, we can find a way to give people access to medical marijuana that's safe, that keeps the public safe, that keeps patients safe, but gives them what they need.
I would say that if you've grown up with the reefer madness that's been drummed into you forever.
These high school boys and girls are having a hop at the local soda fountain. Innocently they dance. Innocent of a new and deadly menace lurking behind closed doors. Marijuana, the burning weed with its roots in hell.
Then take an open mind to it. Go and see the people that I see when I go to Moffitt every 3 weeks and talk to those people about what they're taking and the alternatives.
The narcotics have almost killed me. Marijuana isn't going to kill me. There's no known deaths for marijuana.
Have mercy on people that are dying and can be saved. I've seen it numerous. I've seen the seizure patients, children, just their first shot of oil, and the seizures are gone. Look at Charlotte Figge. We shouldn't have to be criminals. This is not criminal. The criminal part is not allowing this to save people.